for astute listeners of the podcast, you may have noticed I've been gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh wait, that's right. Where
I went
were
to
you?
London and then also Ohio. I'm sure people are so excited for me to hear, talk about Ohio, Youngstown. Can you believe it?
Absolutely no culture shock between the two, right?
Honestly, no, not really.
Get fish in both, probably.
What?
Yeah.
You know what? Great food in Ohio, great food in London. I will say, I am so down with a full English breakfast. Give me beans and bacon and a fried egg any fucking day of the week, and I will scarf that bad boy up. Nom, 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 nom,
Black
nom.
pudding?
Black pudding was like kind of weird, but it was fine.
It's good.
I didn't hate it, but it was also like not my thing. It was just it was very bready in a weird way.
Had you been there before?
No, my first time.
How long were you there?
I was there for like a week, I think.
And mostly London things or outside of London?
We did one day in Paris, but the rest was
That
London.
would be outside London.
Yes, one day in Paris. We didn't even stay the night. It was like we took the train early in the morning and left late at
Isn't
night.
that train fucking unbelievable?
It's so cool. It's so cool that people can
underground?
just do that. Well,
no,
not the
that's
underground.
The train from London to Paris.
I will say the
Oh, I didn't know
underground
that was
is
That's the Eurail, right? Is that what it's called?
Is not the tunnel?
Eurail.
Is the tunnel
or
for cars?
Eurostar.
No, the
Eurostar.
underground is big.
The underground,
the
the
underground.
underground is big, but the trains itself are so tiny.
Oh, yeah.
They're teensy tiny.
Well, everyone knows there's smaller people in London.
Well,
Yeah.
it's also, I guess, the oldest train track in America, or not in America, in the world.
Yeah, that train track or
That's
the
like
underground?
the oldest underground.
Oh, yeah, I
the
mean, New York subway
shuttle.
system was modeled largely after it.
Yeah.
It's,
But I always thought that the Boston Green Line was the oldest, but I think that must just be the oldest in the States.
Huh. So you're saying the London Underground is the oldest subterranean train system on Earth?
I'd believe
She
it.
said it, not me.
There's no way to know.
There's no way to know, and we still have to
Who's to
do
say?
tests. Who's to say?
Okay, let's see what Google says.
Yes.
It's the first electrified underground.
Okay.
It's the world's oldest metro system is what it is. The
Got
world's
it. Sure.
oldest metro system.
But it's not the first
no
time.
corrections. We will pull no correction
Right.
on this.
Okay.
World's oldest metro system. I Googled it. I corrected myself. That's what it is.
Sure.
No more talking.
I had Scotch eggs for the first time in London.
Oh, yeah. I had those too.
I don't like eggs in general.
I don't either, really.
But man, I like scarfed an
I
entire
love
tray
Scotch
of
eggs.
them.
Where'd you get them from? Because I got one from Borough Market, which was like too fancy. And then I saw Matt Pasquale, and then he took me to like a convenience store, and he's like, "These are the Scotch eggs you want," and they were like $1.50, and it was just like these teensy tiny little like shitty eggs that were pretty good.
Oh, I got them at like a restaurant. They were cut in half hard-boiled eggs in the breading.
But that's good.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
It was this place near the CBS. So I worked for a
right.
week before Gamescom 2 years ago. 3 years
Oh,
ago.
out of that
2016.
office?
Yeah, and which is in Shoreditch.
It's right on the Thames, right?
Yeah, so the restaurant I went was right across this canal, and it was like half of the restaurant was hanging over the canal. It was awesome. But yeah, Scotch eggs
It's real
are really
cool
good.
over there.
I like.
It's a fine
I like
Yeah, I
it.
really
The
liked it. I
neighborhood
will
is
say
great.
it felt very it felt like almost just another like going to another place in America, which is like maybe a weird thing to say, but I feel like because I've done a lot of traveling, it's like in Asia or these places that feel so culturally different, and like the language barrier, and this had no language barrier, and like culturally it felt very, very similar.
yeah.
So it was very easy in that sense to travel around there.
As touristy as it was Piccadilly Circus, where I was like, oh, this feels like this feels like London.
Because
Yeah.
Piccadilly
Small
Circus to me
buildings.
felt like mini Times Square.
Yeah.
Like-
it was like mini, but so
Yeah.
It's just with like windy roads, really. I mean,
like Boston almost.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
reminded me of
Yeah.
like Boston mixed with DC.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing that felt most like British to me, and this is maybe like a little bit insulting to
just
the
by
Brits.
the accents, right?
No, it was so hard for me not to just like make fun of it.
Well-
I love accents, not in like a bad way, just in like a hello. I just wanted to do that all the
Sure.
time, but I didn't.
Walk around with a cane.
But
Right.
oh, I wish.
Because you're
But
just a big goofball.
I did walk past this like obelisk. Is that what it's called?
Obelisk? I think?
Obelisk.
Yeah.
And it was like, I read the inscription, and it was like, this is a thing that stood in Egypt for hundreds of years, and then a great British person took it,
Stole it.
forgot about it, and then we found it years later and put it here. And it's like, that's bad. It was like a very weird thing to see. That's like this great person like took this thing that was here for hundreds and hundreds of years. I don't know. I was like, this feels very British.
It's very American kind of.
I
too.
mean, that too. But I feel like that's such a British thing to be like, we're kings of the world. I met the Queen. I didn't meet the Queen. I wish I did. I saw the royal jewels.
Lizzie.
Yeah, the jewels are sort
Crown
of
jewels. I
What's
will
her name
say,
right now, Elizabeth.
Are they in her
yes,
crown?
Queen Elizabeth.
No, it's
Well,
her
there are
hair.
a bunch of crowns.
Wait. Crown jewel? Oh, okay.
Dude, if you keep a straight face, you can tell this
I know.
guy anything.
That's why I can't do those
Yeah,
jokes.
tell him what a cockpit is.
We were,
God.
I think it was last week's Beastcast when I jokingly asked what VR stood for, and I think Dan and Alex were both like virtual reality. It's like, no one gets that sense of humor. I do it all the time in the GameSpot San Francisco office.
Did
It
they
always
get
kills.
See, but the problem, no,
They get it, but they hate it.
no, but that was very good. And Dan was like eating into it. He
Crown
already
jewel?
took the
Whoa,
bait.
wait,
he
wait.
took the bait. He took the bait right away.
I'll get them again before the
Please
episode's
do.
over.
I thought
Please
they were
do.
the crowns or the jewels in the crown of the queen.
That is
They are.
that is accurate. Sometimes they're also in like these like maces that they hold, these like ceremonial maces. But a lot of the crowns we saw didn't have the jewels in them because they removed the jewels and reused them or have them in like safer places. But we did see some that did have the jewels and they were
Well, one of the
decadent.
jewels is actually inlaid on the side of the Tower of London. You can
Right.
see it.
Oh wow!
Did you do that Tower London
I
tour?
did.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
I didn't do a tour. I mean, I just did it.
I was joking.
Oh really? I was like,
They're on display at the Tower of London.
Oh,
I know they're at Tower of London,
Yeah.
the Crown Jewels, which is where
hey,
I went.
dumbass.
So I bullshit my way into actual historical truth.
I will say Tower of London was probably my favorite, one of my
It's
favorite
wild,
things. We like
right?
stumbled upon
So
it. It's just so
old.
crazy to see like a castle in the middle of a city.
Like a super fucking old
Like it's a
castle.
medieval castle, Game of Thrones castle. I thought that was really rad. Also, Matt Pasquale recommended the Harry Potter tour before I went, and that was a thing that I was like, I like Harry Potter, but I'm not like a crazy Harry Potter fan. And my dad, who I went on the tour with, has never seen a Harry
Yeah.
Potter movie apparently, which I didn't really learn until I got to the
Heretic.
tour. Despite that, it was like one of the highlights of the trip. It was so cool and so interesting and so fascinating. And there's just like so much about the Harry Potter kind of production that's just so lovingly done. And just really the detail to everything was amazing.
What's your favorite Harry Potter movie?
My favorite Harry Potter movie is probably the first one or the one where they have to do the tournament. I think the fourth one.
Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, I also like the last couple, but I think the first one is probably my favorite. And then my favorite book is definitely Half-Blood Prince, which I think is an unpopular opinion, but that is by far my favorite book.
Good book. A lot happens.
A lot
my favorite
happens. I
book-
like the flashbacks type stuff. I think it's fascinating.
My favorite book is Goblet of Fire, and then my favorite movie.
book.
I feel it's Prisoner of Azkaban, specifically because it's.
I don't like that one.
Alfonso Cuarón.
I think it's the best made movie as far as like the aesthetics, and it
Yeah.
feels like this
It's
is
an
a movie
Alfonso
and not a
Cuarón
franchise
movie, yeah.
thing. Yeah, but I don't care for that movie. I think so much of it is about the time travel, and not enough is about like the school.
Yeah. Also, he like completely redesigned how Hogwarts looked, how
Yeah.
Hagrid's shack looked. The first two were Christopher Columbus, who also did what Home Alone,
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Thank you. Yeah.
I like the charm of the early movies. Anyway,
Anything else?
you guys want to hear about Ohio now?
Yeah.
No,
No,
that's
I
fine.
mean, it's fine. I don't need to talk about Ohio. But
Okay.
I think that's mostly it. I had a good time in London. I did meet a couple of very nice Giant Bomb fans at the Harry Potter world. They were very nice.
Cool.
Do you have any cask ales?
What?
Cask ales, the room
What?
temperature.
That sounds like some backlar thing.
Yeah.
Is that a beer thing?
Yeah,
I had one beer.
that's
I had a stout
apparently that's
while
a
I
big
was
London
there, and
thing.
that was it.
Yeah, it's like cask ales are room temperature, brewed in a cask, and then left at room temperature. So when you drink it, it's room temperature.
No,
I did
don't
not
want
like
a warm
it,
beer.
but I felt the need to do it. I got fish and chips at this pub near Grosvenor Square, and it was a place my brother recommended. He's been everywhere, so he's like, "Oh, go here." He remembered the name of the pub and everything. It was good.
I did do fish and chips a couple times. I went to like the oldest pub in London, I think, which is older than the U.S., which is kind of a weird novelty.
The thing with fish and chips is, I think all of us living around here, it's not as much of a novelty because we have
Yeah.
we can get haddock in Boston, which is really good.
And they have it.
You can get
everywhere
fish and
here,
chips
too.
everywhere.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of the nice thing about New York is I can get good food from any culture
Yeah.
yeah.
everywhere in New York. That's pretty authentic. for
Right,
the
yeah,
most
but like
part.
specifically the Northeast, we have like access to haddock from Boston and like actual good like fried fish.
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the country, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get fish and chips in London because I don't
Although
normally
I
do
feel
it.
like the States fish and chips are a little different than the fish and chips I had in the UK, whereas the States is like fingery type food where it's like little nugget type things, whereas in the UK it's like here it looks like a big
like a
fish
fillet,
that's been
yeah.
like
And you put the
buttered
lemon
and
on
fried.
it. That stuff's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yep. But London was great. Thank you everyone for the recommendations. Thank you to the nice people I met there. And I had a good time. Thanks to the Queen for allowing me to come. I will say, okay, not to keep going on my trip, but my passport is like a bit water damaged, and it's been like, it just looks really dirty, but it's like fine, it's legible. I have been to so many countries. I have gotten visas with it. I have been back and forth in the US multiple times. I've had this passport for like 10 years. It's about to expire. It has never been an issue. I went to London, and every single person I saw in London was like, "What happened to your passport?" Like either they thought it was a joke and like laughed about it, or they were like, "You're lucky you're even here with this."
Whoa.
It was like wild because I'm like, nobody else has ever had any issue with this passport.
I thought the important parts of a passport are waterproof.
Well, I think this is also maybe a thing is now they have all those like chip readers, which I didn't. My chip reader.
Oh, and you have to
work.
put it in the machine.
Yeah, that didn't work. So maybe that's part of it. But even the things where it didn't have the chip reader and I just handed it to somebody, they were like, "Wow, you're lucky you're here."
Here's one more quick question. Did you coming from New York and being, I mean, we discovered yesterday you're a super exhibitionist according to Party Pack 6.
Wow.
We were playing one that like you put people into roles, and I was apparently super sneaky and
I don't know.
introverted, which I'm introverted. I don't know that I'm sneaky.
I'm stylish, super exhibitionist, I guess.
And what was the and energetic?
Yep.
Did any like the stereotype of people from the UK being that they're polite? Did that strike you as a thing? Because we work with several people from London, and I think there's been some times when I first met them, they're like, this guy just says a lot on his mind. That's on his mind and forward and blunt.
I didn't notice, but I also wasn't like super interacting with the locals. The only local I really was like, I'm going to have a chit chat with you. Was
the Queen.
Was the Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Matt Pasquale. But I did ask the nice folks I met at the Harry Potter World if the weather was normal because it rained like every day in a bad way.
That's great.
And they were like, this is just that season. And I was like, okay.
I was there this time of year like 7 years ago, and I did not see the sun once, which is fine. That's perfect Jeff weather.
Yes.
But
it was interesting because it did rain the whole time. Then we went to Paris for a day and it was beautiful and sunny.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you so much for indulging my London talk.
You're quite welcome.